Mushoku Tensei Job Full Reincarnation? World's worst assassin gets reincarnated into another world as an aristocrat? In another world with my beaker? Pharmacy in another world? What do we want to call it? So reincarnation into a fantasy world, check. Overpowered MC, check. Convenient plot devices that push the story forward, check. Harem? Sort of check. Parallel World Pharmacy definitely has all the typical isekai story elements put into it, but what makes it work so well? I'll admit when I first started Parallel World Pharmacy, I wasn't too impressed with the first episode. It started with all the typical fare that you get from an isekai, guy transferring to another world. He's super overpowered, he's got these great magical abilities, tons of shenanigans happen around trying to keep his identity from his previous world kept away. But I will admit that at the very end of the first episode, it did something that really did capture me. And that was the idea that somebody seen his overpoweredness and screamed bloody murder and ran away, which is not usually what you get. You usually get Sugoi, Sugoi. But it was really what was beyond that whole start that really did capture me. The things that it did different than your typical isekais that really did break the molds and what my expectations were in the series. To give people a brief idea of what Parallel World Pharmacy is, essentially this guy that in his previous life, he's devoted his entire life to doing pharmacies. He's looking for cures for different things because his driving force was his sister when he was a child. They had no cure for her and she ended up dying. So he dedicated his entire life to basically looking for cures so that nobody else had to suffer what he went through with his sister. And after overworking himself to death, he gets transported to another world where he's a son of a noble family. Now this noble family, their whole reason why they're nobles is because they've kind of dedicated themselves to pharmaceuticals. Their skills were so high and their contributions to the society were so great they became nobles. And so there's a lot of expectations for the body of the child that he was placed inside of in this other world. You have to be able to perform divine arts and you have to be really good at pharmaceuticals, what their family is known for. And if you don't, you'll be kicked out of the family. So he has to really quickly adjust himself to this new body and this new world and the knowledge that he should have in this world. And as it goes along, it establishes the aspect of the nobles and the commoners, not only the gap in riches, but also the availability of medical care. And so he decides to open up a pharmacy so that he can provide that aid to people. And at such cheap prices, anybody can have what they need. So what makes this work so well? I think that's really whenever you put aside all the OP magic elements, which it kind of seems like it does very quickly. It maybe had like 2 moments where it really tries to hit on the fact that yes, he's really overpowered. He's got crazy mana potential. And it seems like everybody that's in the know kind of attributes this to the mark that he has on his shoulder. That he is the incarnation of the god of pharmacy. With that comes crazy overpowered abilities, but also the ability to see the ailments of people. By using one of his eyes, he's able to see where the problem is that somebody has. If they have a broken bone, it'll glow, and depending on what kind of color, it can tell him if it's something that's critical or something that can easily be treated. And I think that brief summary really does highlight the thing that I like so much about the series, that despite the fact that it opens up with him being super overpowered magic abilities, it's not that he goes off on an adventure. He really focuses on what was really his driving force in his previous life. I want to bring medical care to people that need it. I want to make sure that nobody is suffering. Nobody is in need of care. Everything is available to everybody. And definitely with this discrepancy in what people have available to them, being that it's a noble, commoner type of kingdom, he's got a lot of people that are in dire need of help. And I think it's in that heart that really does drive Parallel World Pharmacy to a different level than you typically get from a show. Yes, a lot of isekais will get into pharmaceutical openings. They bring the technology and knowledge from their previous life to the new world. They're a super healer, so they're able to heal everybody, or they open up a beauty shop. But this one, that's its focus. And I think that whenever that's its focus, that's where it shines. Even when they have this brief moment where the church comes after him, it lost me a little bit. But at the very end, it kind of pulled it back in to, again, get into the idea of everybody in front of him that is suffering, he wants to help. And yes, that's obviously going to bring the attention of people around him. Really cheap pharmaceuticals is obviously going to anger the guild. And yes, all these plot devices get placed into play, but it still doesn't stop him. It still doesn't stop Fama from being a very genuinely good person. And I think that's probably why most of the reason why I like the show so much. Fama's a cool dude. You kind of root for him because he's helping people. It's not get harem, it's not be overpowered, it's not go on an adventure, no, it's not take down the big evil dragon, which probably eventually he will, but the focus is always on bringing aid to others. And that's obviously something I can root for. It's why something like Demon Slayer, despite it being just about killing demons, I liked it so much because the main character was such a genuinely good person. But it's not as simple as, poof, you're healed. I think it's in how it's presented that does surprise me a lot. This writer does know pharmaceuticals. They do know the medical field. And it shows when you see what he does in this world. They have this moment where Fama goes inside this big library and he starts looking through books and he realizes really quickly, this stuff's kind of out of date. This isn't anywhere close to what we've gotten to. And so he sort of has to hide the fact that he does know more than what this world knows. And it's something that even his father, obviously being in the pharmacies, he knows his son's doing things that are far-reaching what the technology has in this world. But how it presents this stuff is, I think, where the crux of what I enjoy about the series so much. Oh, the queen's sick. Shrug, guess he's gonna save her, obviously. But he doesn't just come in there and go, boop, you're healed. Boop, here's the medicine that you need. Everybody's happy. All the people that were standing around the queen that are all saying that she's basically dead are all going, cheers, cheers for Fama. No, it kind of presents in the way that he comes there knowing that the queen actually has had a history in medicine. He's able to explain it to her. He's able to explain it to the people around him. Look, this is what it looks like. This is what she's facing. This is the ailment that she has. Look into the spyglass, this magnifying glass, and you can see exactly what's plaguing her. And this is what's going to cure it. It's not going to be a cure-all. It's obviously a medicine. It's going to take time to get into your system. It's going to take time. You're going to have to take this over time. And by the way, I will take it too. Just to show you that it's okay, I will be taking the same dosage that you do. He knows this is an unknown, and he presents it in a way that everybody understands, but additionally shows that what he's doing is safe. And this is something that they continue to do. When you have this case where this daughter of this guy is sick, he brings him in and he starts to explain everything to him. And yeah, granted, I think he's just like a real doctor, which I think is great. Just like a real doctor, just like a real pharmacist. He tries to explain what he's doing, but you can obviously see that he's over-explaining, and he's using terms that are a little bit over the person's head, but he's trying to explain what he's doing. Again, it goes back in the idea that this person, this writer, does know the history and the background and what he's dealing with. It's not just kind of making things up on the spot. It's really trying to get into the nitty-gritty of what ails somebody and what it's necessary in order to bring them back to good health. And again, having that good heart in there where he's technically doing things for people that normally would not have that care. And I think this recent episode is a clear sign of that. When you do have a commoner who has nowhere to turn to when his daughter has a high fever, Pharma welcomes him into his facility. He diagnoses and gives a treatment to the daughter. What we find out is that guy's actually working for the guild that normally controls the pharmaceuticals in this area. And this is somebody that technically wants to help people. He wants to do good. He wants to give cures to people. But he realizes that the availability of the knowledge and the equipment for somebody like him who's a commoner is very limited. And he knows based on his experience with the guild that they're not really out to help people. They're out to make sure they have plenty for what they need to do and provide cures that most likely will not work. And he fights back against that because he knows what they're doing is wrong and what Falma is doing is actually helping people. And I think it's only the fact that his daughter and his wife were involved that it really does affect him, because he realizes that if his daughter, if his wife falls ill, whatever the guild that he's in, if they were to try to provide any aid to them, he knows they'll probably end up dead. Because most of the time they're selling snake oil, basically. Herbs and treatments and powders that probably only affect the symptoms, if anything. Now, with all of that said, I will admit that this does technically highlight one of Parallel World Pharmacy's biggest issues. And then probably the issue that a lot of people probably have watching this show. No, not the overpowered main character, because like I said, that's very much a side thing. It's the very convenient storytelling. Everything is placed in front of Falma in order to hit a story beat and move on. He's transported to another world where he has a sister. Obviously, he's going to help the sister. Oh, the queen's sick. Obviously, he's going to find a cure for the queen. The father's coughing. Obviously, he's going to help the father. A guy is a part of this guild that literally wants to take him down, and his daughter's sick. He's obviously going to help him and bring him into this guild. Every single episode, something is placed conveniently in front of Falma, and he will resolve it, and it will get to a story beat. Everything is placed in front of him. Oh, the butler's getting fired from his dad. Obviously, his dad wanted him to hire him. Everything feels super convenient. And you can pretty much tell what's going to happen by the end of the episode within the first couple minutes. But at the same time, it still pulls it off every time. Even with like the queen, I'm like, here we go. We're gonna cure the queen. But again, it's all in how he explains things to the people, he explains the situation, he explains the disease, and he explains how things are going to be cured. He opens up his new pharmacy, he's got to figure out how he's going to be able to increase the popularity, but it plays it out so well. The lot going out there, talking to the commoners, finding what their issues are and resolving the issue. Beauty products, that's obviously a way to pull people in, but it gets into the aspect of lead being into powders and all that kind of stuff, and essentially correcting that misconception. And yes, like I said, Guy works for the guild. The guild's trying to take him down. Obviously, he's going to help him and bring him in. But it was the heart of him and his family and what he was going through and the struggles that he had facing that commoners don't get proper care. And even getting into the guildmaster and what his whole shtick was. The guildmaster wanted to take down Fama because he was afraid that if Fama basically pushes them out of the market by having prices so low, he's afraid one day Fama will get bored and close down his shop and then nobody will have care. He's trying to make sure that commoners have care, and he's afraid that Fama will drive them out and then leave. It makes it more than just evil bad guy that wants to take down the main character. So yes, wow, super convenient with its storytelling and just very played out storylines. Every time, it does a really good job of both explaining what the main character's doing, making impact, and delivering the punchline with excellence. But anyways, that's my current thoughts on Parallel World Pharmacy. If any of that sounds interesting, you definitely be checking it out. I will do a full review of the series once it finally completes. I'll probably repeat a lot of this stuff, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you think about the series so far. Do you think it's super convenient? Do you not care? Let me know down below. And additionally, if you've not already, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more and you like what you're seeing, I would definitely appreciate if you consider supporting us on Patreon, our tips link, or our super thanks button down below. It's your guys' support that keeps us going, and you'll take care.